All right, today we're going to talk about how to use your jade applicator and release our expression lines on our forehead, help everything to stay nice and lifted, and this area. So first I want to talk about what's going on here. So a lot of us grew up and we talked with our forehead. We were always just like doing, making a ton of facial expressions. And that becomes a habit, and the habit eventually creates grooves because as our skin ages, if we're not doing something to stimulate the collagen growth, which, by the way, this does, it'll get creases, and the creases one day will start to stick, and we've all kind of seen this. And what they do is they might inject Botox, which relaxes the muscles, but it's not really addressing the grooves or the distortion that happens in the fascia tissue, which is also a component of it. The beautiful news is that this does. I'm 45 years old, and this is what my forehead looks like. I can move the whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to teach you my secrets now. First thing is we want to make sure that you have a nice glide serum because we want to work this area succinctly and not be pulling on it, which stresses the skin. So I'm going to put a couple drops of a glidey serum right there and make sure I get the whole area, my giant forehead, fully. I got a lot of work with this. Some of you might not have the giant forehead, but I do. All right, so now that I've got it all hydrated with this glide serum, let's kind of look at some of the moves. So first we're going to start with the rounded part, and we're just going to up and down. Just up and down and go all the way across the forehead. This is waking it up because before we start to get intense, we want to get some blood flow coming to the area. And already you might feel like, depending on the state of your forehead, you might feel that there's some nice grooves. The good news is that we are sculpting our face through time. So every day that you do this, and with the forehead, you might want to do something 4 times a week or even every day, only intense stuff once or twice a week. And we're just waking it up, going back and forth. And I'm using a light pressure. So one of the things we want to keep in mind when we're doing this, it's not so much intensity as repetition that's going to smooth the wrinkles and stimulate the regrowth in an even way. All right, excellent. So now we've kind of woken it up. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to use the thumb position. So my thumb's in the little indent, and I'm going to start here, and we're going to go back and forth, just back and forth. Now, if you have developed some serious grooves, you're going to feel it here. It's going to feel very uneven. This is both muscles, fascia, probably a little bit of scar tissue or something that's like scar tissue in the fascia because it's creased so many times. Fascia is a lot like spider webs that wrap around the cells, and when we keep doing the same thing, it breaks the webs, distorts it, and makes it kind of stick together. That's the situation, but this does really undo the problem. So I'll talk about, this is where we undo whatever we've done before, but then we also want to talk about prevention. So excellent. Now, a couple of times just up and down, and you're looking for tension points. Excellent. You might feel it very asymmetrical here. Think like you're trying to kind of iron something out with multiple gentle repetitions. Excellent. Now we're going to keep this motion going, and I'm using the edge here, up and down, using the edge. I'm just going to slide, so it's different from the previous movement, using the edge, so it's a little more aggressive. We're still kind of waking it up. Now, I happen to like gliding it here into my temples a little bit. It feels really nice. When I'm doing this, I always want to close my eyes, so I might be closing them just because it feels so relaxing. And it's just helps me sleep so much better when I do this. All right, up and down. Now, you probably have specific areas where you have like a crease. Like I have a little bit of one here. So I'm going to come to this, and I'm going to turn this. So I'm using it like this. So I'm using the edge. I'm just going side to side. And we use this in some of the other videos. It's this side to side. And what this does, it lets me really isolate whatever's kind of happening. So it's not like big sweeping grandiose motions. I'm just systematically moving along the wrinkle line and going side to side with a gentle pressure to just release any muscle tension. And it's this detailed work of I'm just kind of ironing it out, and I go back and forth, and it's just side to side, these little micro movements, nice and relaxed. You can do this like laying down, or if you're sitting up, trying to make your breathing nice and even. And then I'm going to use that same kind of back and forth movement and just begin kind of going up and down the forehead, like I'm scanning for little areas where there's adhesions, where there's wrinkles. And when we do this, and this particular one with the forehead, I'll oftentimes do this 4 days a week. But anything, if you can do it once a week, you're going to get a much more benefit, or at least a prevention. Excellent. You're just going to begin to kind of go back and forth wherever you kind of hone in, where there's something, you can just use this technique and kind of hang out there. Then we're going to begin to go up and down. Okay. First, I'm using these broader movements. It's going back and forth across the forehead. Oh, that feels relaxing. And then the same thing. I'm going to use up and down. I'm going to just kind of scan wherever there's a little, okay, there's something. This stimulation helps the tissue to grow back much more resilient. It helps it to boost collagen. It's going to help create structural tension in the tissue. So it's basically, we lose structure as we age if we don't stimulate. So by doing this, you're already changing this. It's from the downward spiral to the upward spiral. This is such a gift. It's such a gift. You can do this while you're relaxing in the evening and kind of undo the day's tension. And I recommend picking, maybe an area one day that you go deeper in, another area you go deeper the next day, but at least doing some sort of movement in the face 5 days a week, maybe 7, just to stimulate and undo any of the tension from the day. Okay, excellent. So now your forehead is probably feeling just nice and relaxed. You probably found areas where there was more tension. What I found with the forehead area, whereas I'll go much deeper on the lips or the cheeks, is here I tend to not really do more than 5 minutes at a time, because it's better to do it more frequently, because the tissue is really, it's thin, and a little bit of paying attention to it more days in the week is going to yield a better result. If this area is your concern, it's better you do a little bit every day, or 5 days a week, or 4 days a week, whatever you can accommodate. If you want to change it, then if you go really intense, whereas like with the lips or over here, it makes more sense to do a little bit more in depth. All right, so now just to finish up the practice, we're going to go back to the smooth side. We're just going to start and glide from the center out with a little bit of a curve, and then I slide down to my temple. This just helps to really seal the practice, relax, and just smooth. So whatever feels good to you, you can add more of that. If some areas don't feel good, feel free to skip it. And there you have it. A nice, smooth, relaxed forehead. Now some tips. I recommend you train yourself to not talk using your forehead. And one of the ways I've done this, and it's kind of silly, is I'll put like a little piece of tape on those areas, because it reminds you when you start moving it. And you just train yourself to, like I've done most of this video, not talk moving those muscles. It takes a second. It's a little bit like rewiring your brain, but it means much less work with our beautiful friend here, the Jade Gua Sha, so you can focus more on your lips, plumping those, and your cheeks. All right, enjoy, and keep up the good work.